This is a haQ attaQ episode. My name is Jakob, and you are my lovely lovelies, and we're going to have a look at Low Poly Synthesizer. Now, it's made by Alexander Zolotov, the same guy who made Sunvox and also my most favorite spectral synthesizer, Virtual Ants. It's number 3 now. Well, Alexander has also made 3 other apps that I'm very much in love with called Relic Flow, Relic Waves, and Fractal Bits. And these aren't really synthesizers, they're more like sound machines and kind of like looping drum machines. And they are all based on a seed engine that just mixes a bunch of different samples. And then you can like activate loops and deactivate loops. And well, he took the code from Relic Flow, Relic Waves, and Fractal Bits, he bundled it all together with the seed system and added synth algorithms on top of it. And that's basically what Low Poly Synth is. Now, one thing I do want to highlight are these boxes here. They are all representing a sample loop. And at the same time, there are also volume faders. You see, those weren't present in the other 3 apps, and I always wish I had them. Well, here we don't have that problem since these are volume faders now. Now, with every seed that you generate, you get 8 sample loops, and they all have varying lengths, meaning whenever you play a note, they never loop the same way because of the varying lengths. So every note you play is a generative looping session, and this is a polysynth, so that's pretty dope. Okay, so every seed contains 8 different sample loops. And how many seed presets are there in here? Well, there's a combination of 4,294,967,296 presets, which is also the number of takes I had to do in order to get that down properly. Sounds funny, but I'm almost not joking because I have a brain that cannot properly read numbers like this. Look, I even had to type it out. Now, how do you select a seed? Well, you can fast forward search by pressing and holding down this button, and it will just cycle through seeds, and you just let go and you'll have a seed. You can also tap here and you'll get a keyboard and you can type in the seed, and you can also backstep through seeds on here. And once you have a seed that you like, but maybe you don't like one of the samples, well, you can lock down the samples you want to keep and then keep searching through seeds to get a new sample loop in that box instead. Now I really want to dig into the generative aspect of low poly synth, but first I actually need to show you some of the stuff hidden inside the MIDI features. Now, in order to MIDI map something inside Low Poly Synth, I would urge you to use the internal MIDI mapping system that Alexander has put in here for us, because it might not be that straightforward to do this in some AUV3 hosts and/or DAWs. And instead of taking 5 minutes to explain all the cases of why the conventional way doesn't work, well, we're just gonna focus on internally MIDI mapping inside Low Poly Synth. So once we have our controller routed to the DAW, we go to the channel where we have Low Poly Synth loaded. Next, we just press the 3 dots up here, and then we go down to where it says MIDI mapping. Press that and we enter this menu where we can select the parameter we want to map to by pressing and holding here and sliding left to right. Now, once we've selected the parameter we want to map to, all we have to do is to press learn, and then the next step is to go to the controller and either tweak a knob or slide a fader, and that parameter will now be linked to that controller. Alright, so I went through all of the MIDI parameters and I categorized them into keyboard, seed controls, FX and processors, and also EG and amp. So you can MIDI map to all of these parameters, whether you're using an external MIDI controller or keyboard, or if you're using something like a MIDI controlling app. And the number one feature you should MIDI map instantly is algorithm. Here you have 4 different types of synth algorithms. You got harmonic, spectrum, frequency modulation or FM, and random. And switching between these after you've selected a seed will drastically change how that seed sounds. It's pretty interesting. And I don't know why this is hidden as a MIDI parameter. I really do think that this should be a control on the main UI. Now, the second thing I want to highlight is the 3-band equalizer in here. There are controls for low, mid, and high, and I always map to them. It's just nice having filters to work with when you are sculpting sounds. Now, if we have a look at the rest of the MIDI parameters here, a lot of them are available on the main UI. For instance, everything inside EG and amp is already there on the main UI. Also, inside effects and processing, we got stereo, reverb, and echo over here. And when it comes to the C controls, well, they're all over here. However, when we get to keyboard, only one of them is actually available on the UI, and that is hold. The lock button that allows you to lock seeds, well, it can also become a hold button, but only when you're playing notes. So what you might want to map is polyphony, which is variable between 1 up to 16 voices. And then we've got glide, transpose, and fine tune. I really want to hammer this in about the generativeness of low poly synth. So I'm going to play a long note and we're just going to listen to what's going on in this patch while we're playing that one long note. Now, I intentionally played this without any effects because I really want you to hear what's going on. And that was just one note. And one thing that really stood out is how it never loops the same way no matter how long we play it for. And that's very much thanks to the varying lengths of the 8 different loops in here. And this is partly why low poly synth is so good at creating ambient atmospheric textures. And on top of that, the type of sounds that are in there are lo-fi, noisy, all kinds of interesting mechanical kind of industrial sounds, clanking sounds. And on top of it, we have synthesis algorithms that we can switch between to produce different timbres out of the same type of material. It's very interesting. But to my ears, it's not perfect without a really good effect to make it all meld together. And I hope I don't hurt Alexander's feelings too much, but I don't feel like the delay and reverb in here are doing justice to low poly synth and its internal engine, because they leave something to be desired. So I would urge you to combine the power of low poly synth with some really good effects. And the first category is reverb. Now, there are many good reverbs on iOS, but there are some favorites of mine because they give you a lot of control. Now, the one I want to recommend is, in my opinion, the most underrated reverb on iOS, and it is Cascade. It's not just a reverb, it's a reverb algorithm factory. If you are an ambient or noise people, then you're doing yourself a disservice by not getting this reverb. It can create huge, swashed out, massive spaces down to tight vocal booth type stuff, almost so tight as to produce chorus-like effects. And it can also produce delays. It's open for experimentation. It has filtering in there. It is a very powerful plugin, really underrated. Go check my video on it if you haven't yet. It's really good. Again, there are many good reverbs on iOS, and I made this poster to show you my most favorite ones. Some of these are many years old, but it doesn't matter. They're all AUV3, and most of them are still getting updates and being maintained, so none of them are abandoned or anything like that. Right, so next I want to talk about delays. There are so many really good delays on iOS. Developers have been doing some really great work in this field, and these are my favorites. It was really hard to pick out these ones. And out of all of these, I have one that is my absolute favorite, and it is FabFilter's Timeless 3. It is a tap delay, but it's more than just a delay. It is a delay algorithm factory. You can produce so many different types of effects with it. You can do stuff like weird, flanger-esque, chorusy type of effects, up to huge, swashed-out reverb-like spaces, and in between all the types of delays you want. Tape-like delays, comb filter delays. It has so much modulation in there. It's just a crazy, crazy platform for making your own stuff. Yeah, Timeless 3 is great, but it's not alone because Other Desert Cities is no slouch. It's extremely powerful. It consists of several selectable delay algorithms. You got loads of interesting stuff in here. Granular, tap, tape, and more. And on top of it, there is also modulation. Now, it's nowhere near as in-depth as in Timeless 3, but there is enough in here to make it interesting. It's a really, really powerful delay plugin. So I want to start with a few complaints. And my first complaint is that I really don't like the fact that the algorithm switch is not on the main page. Another thing I want to say is that I would really like to have transpose controls right there too, because it's really frustrating having to map these basic features. I just want them there on the page. The second complaint I have is about saving. So if you want to save a patch, you actually have to go through the system up here where you press there and then here, and then you rename it over here. And I find this so frustrating because I hate working inside a system like this. It feels like I'm sitting and working with a terminal, and I don't want to work with a terminal. I really just want a preset bar up top where I can easily save my stuff. And it's the same thing when I want to load something. You have to go into the system and it's just... it's so frustrating, but it's not all bad because I still love Low Poly Synth. But why? Why do I love it? Well, where do I start? With 100% risk of repeating myself, I've many times said that I've spent 35 plus years into learning synthesizers and synthesis, and after 35 plus years, I'm still not done. There's a lot to learn, and one thing that is important for me is control. Because I want to know what I'm doing, I want to know what the synthesizer is doing, and I want to know how I can force it to do stuff. And with Low Poly Synth, I don't really get that. There's a lot of uncertainty. So why do I like it? Well, sometimes I like relinquishing control, but I never enjoy relinquishing all control. And I don't have to do that with Low Poly Synth because I can still mix and choose the sample boxes to my pleasure. I can mix their volumes to my pleasure. And just sitting there and searching for sound is meditative. And because of the sound types that Alexander Zolotov puts in there, it is overall a meditative experience. It's really nice. For those of you who are the noise people or ambient type of people, well, this is straight up your alley too. And for anyone else who just want to have a little bit of fun, I mean, you can't go wrong with Low Poly Synthesizer. It's definitely an underrated gem when it comes to Atmo and ambience type synthesizers. You can find a link down in the pinned comment and also in the description under this video. Now, before you leave, I do have a Gumroad preset page, and if you missed it, I recently put up 2 new preset packs over there, and one of them is 100% free, as long as you just put a 0 into the price field when you do a purchase. It's for Elastic OSC, and it contains 75 presets. Now, the second preset pack is for Nambu and contains 110 presets, and I think that's the preset pack I've been working on for the longest amount of time, but I still charge the same price for the big packs as I do for the other big packs. Now, I will have a new preset pack coming out real soon, and it's for the most expensive hardware sequencer sampler synth out there, and it is the Teenage Engineering OP1 Field. Not the OP1, the old one, but the new one, OP1F. It's a pretty big pack, and it contains 140 instrument presets, or synth presets, as Teenage Engineering call them. So no drums or anything like that, just pure sounds. And it's pretty much a 50-50 split between pure synthesis and also samples that I've taken from my own library or produced from ground up just for this preset pack. Again, this pack has a cyberwave, vaporwavy kind of character to it because I just can't stop making sounds like that. Lastly, I want to say that if you liked what you heard in this video where I was using Timeless 3, well, I was using presets from my own preset pack, and it's available on my Gumroad. It contains 32 presets. It'll only cost you $2. So if you have Timeless 3 and you want some really good presets, well, go grab it. As usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.